What's going on, besties? In today's video, we're going to be talking about situationships, more specifically, how to fine-tune your ick meter. I see a lot of videos saying, oh my god, this gave me the ick, and the thing in question giving you the ick, it's not really that logical, because you'll talk about how your situationship icks you out, but the fact is you're in a situationship. That is an ick in of itself. If you're new here, my name's Natalie, and I share ways in which I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. If you like that, please subscribe. But before we get into this video about situationships, I want to define what a situationship is. A situationship is not friends with benefits. A situationship is when you don't know if you're in a relationship with someone or not. You do relationship type things with this person, but there's no title and there's no wanting a title. It's oftentimes that one person in the situationship wants the relationship more than the other. And you might be asking yourself, how are you talking about situationships? You might be getting a little bit defensive. Listen, I've been here. Okay? I've been in this weird situationship phase where I didn't know if I actually wanted to date someone or they wanted to date me, or what are we because we're doing relationship things and you're kissing me and telling me you love me. You love me? You love me. That's crazy. That's crazy. So if you're in a situationship, this video will help you evaluate why are you in this situationship and what can you learn out of it. Because as much as we like to tell ourselves, don't worry, girl, they're not anything, you could do so much better. Or for a dude, oh, she's a bot, bro, don't even worry about it. You are attracted to this person for a reason. This person is pointing out an insecurity within you. I as well like to preface that this video is going to be talked about mainly from a woman's perspective because I am a woman. However, I don't think this advice doesn't apply to men who happen to be in situationships. The thing is, most men don't hate the fact that they're in a situationship. Unless you are deeply in love with this woman, unless you know that this woman is your dream girl, most men get the bang for their buck with situationships. You must understand this. This is the default for a lot of men. So if you're a dude and you happen to be in a situationship, you might have the upper hand in a lot of ways because you can just stop giving your energy to the situation. Whereas if you're here, women have a lot of biological factors that make us more attached to men, especially men we happen to be doing things with, if you will, which is precisely why we tend to get the shorter end of the stick many times. I'm not going to say that this advice doesn't apply to men, but keep some nuance in there and know that I am a woman talking about situationships, and I'm mainly going to be talking to people who share my own experiences. This is the supply and demand curve. This is the supply and demand curve. Yes, we're bringing in economics into this because, baby, guess what? The dating market is a market. Okay, the dating market is a market. So we have the supply and demand curve right here. On the bottom axis, we have quantity demanded, and then on the x-axis, we have an R, which stands for resources. Usually in economics, this is money. Before this analogy, I want you to think of this R as whatever you give, your love language, and whatever you want to receive in any type of relationship. This point in the middle right here is the equilibrium point. This is the idea that what you give is what you receive. Your demands are perfectly met with what is supplied to you, and everyone's happy. Now, most situationships, there's one person who demands more, and then the supplier, aka your boo, is not supplying what it needs to be supplied. This means that there's a shortage. Now, for most situationships, this is the reality. It never meets an equilibrium. So your demand of this person is way higher than what they can actually provide to you. This is the supply line, this is the demand line, okay? In simple terms, your demands for this person might be more than what they're able to supply to you. However, that doesn't mean you can't look for a different supplier. Men are very good at this. They know what their demands are, and they seek out their demands not by begging whatever supplier, please supply me more, please supply me more. If their answer is no, they just go find another woman. And this also works with like any relationship dynamic. This doesn't have to be just straight people either, but a key factor in a situationship is you are providing this person exclusivity. You are giving this person things that you would only give someone in a relationship. So each person has their supply that they give to someone else and the demand that they require back. So technically there should be two of these graphs because you are both a supplier and the demand, but in this specific graph it's just what you are supplied and what do you demand. Like, so the supply curve is the person person, and then the demand curve is you. Now I want to focus on the supply curve just for a second, because the supply curve can be your roster, or it can be what the person is actually giving you, right? For suppliers, there's always going to be a barrier to entry in order to enter a market. So that's this point right here. Even when there's zero quantity demanded, there's still a cost associated with supplying the good itself. And so in whatever situationship, you actually set this price. You set the price on if someone is going to supply to you or not. This is the barrier to entry for them. Now, this is decided by you in this analogy of situationships, okay? To even supply you with something, there is a barrier to entry. And this works for both men and women. For example, a barrier to entry for men might be she has to look good. She has to be polite. For women, this might literally be money. Whatever that is for you. Now, when it comes to supply, not everyone you talk to is a supplier. You might just be asking for inquiry. For example, going on Tinder. There's a pretty low barrier to entry, which means that you shifted your supply curve to the right. There's a low barrier to entry, but it might not supply you with something high quality, if that makes sense. Now, some people, their barrier to entry is, you gotta take me on a date. You gotta invest time into me, which makes their barrier to entry a little bit higher than someone whose barrier to entry is more down here. And my point in telling you this is, although you can't control who supplies to you, you know, your roster or whatever, you can't control who's interested in you or not interested in you. You can still control the barrier to entry. So you are in a situationship because you have a low barrier to entry. The person you are in a situationship with is not supplying you what you need. The solution is not to beg them to supply more, because you already accepted their barrier to entry. It's to go turn your attention to something else. It's to find a new supplier, ma'am. And that's what so many people don't get about situationships. It's that you set your own price. Now, I know how this can go left. You have inherent value. I just want to say that in a dating market, you don't have a specific value placed on you. That's all hypothetical. But you do need to value yourself and know what your barriers to entry are. You need to have boundaries, or else you will end up in a shortage where you are not getting what you need and you continue to accept less because you don't think you're worthy of more. And I understand that situationships are super hard, and like, I care about him and I really like him. You brush over your own needs because maybe at one point it was at equilibrium, right? Maybe at one point there was an equal give and take because your demands weren't so high. But as time went on, you had more to demand because you wanted a relationship with this person, and that's valid and that's completely okay. But you cannot force someone to be with you. You can't force someone to be with you, especially when they are not able to supply you with what you need. Do not ever feel like you're asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And I'm being harsh with you, bestie, because you can't just keep giving your energy to things that are trying to throw you away. You are giving yourself away at a discount. I need you to see that. My expo marker just ran out of ink, so I'm gonna have to verbally explain the rest to you. I also want to talk about the demand curve. I'll insert a picture of the demand curve, but essentially when quantity demanded is zero, you don't even want it anymore. The effort or resources it would take in order to get this thing isn't even worth it. And a good example of this is a guy will be like, well, she's too much for me. Okay, like, I'm not gonna take her to like a 5-star restaurant the first time I take her out. You might have heard of the term that consumers set the market, and that is also true in the dating market as well. How, you might ask? Because we set the standards for what we do and do not accept. Think about like our grandparents' generation. What was normal then was, you walked your woman to the door, you bought her flowers, essentially the idea of chivalry. Nowadays, a lot of people's barrier to entry is generally low because what people are looking for is not something serious, which is why you got yourself in a situationship to begin with. So when the demand curve shifts, sometimes you have to shift your demand for a person. You are demanding something from your supplier that they cannot provide, that was not initially agreed upon. And this isn't a lost cause because, bestie, you can call your power back. This isn't the end-all be-all, but you need to stop putting yourself in situations where you are accepting less. There's always a choice to find a different supplier. And this also ties into like social conditioning, because one thing that men have been socially conditioned to do in the dating market that women often don't do is they find their needs elsewhere. And women are just now waking up to the fact that they can do the same thing too. right? If your needs aren't being met in one area and you find yourself demanding so much of a person, you can adjust your demand by exiting the market, by finding a different supplier, by getting a substitute. And so one thing I really want to talk about when it comes to situationships is that when you're in a situationship, it's because you're denying yourself of more. It goes from an equal exchange where two people are enjoying each other, getting to know each other, to now you're in your proving energy. You are having to prove to this person that you are dateable, that you are lovable. And that would be similar to a surplus, right? You are supplying this person with everything that you think they need, but their demand is pretty low. They have a very low demand of you, and they are now unattracted to you because you are giving yourself up so easily. They are now unattracted to you because you are giving them something that they never even asked for. And so if you're in a situationship, there's only two options, okay? It's either you call your power back and you exit the market, or you decrease your demand for what you're asking of this person. I'm gonna call you when I need you for something, and that's it. And you can say, oh my God, that sounds so cruel. That's what men do all the time. I hope you guys realize that. Like, that's what most guys in the dating market do. If you don't say yes, another girl will. And so I need you to have that same energy when it comes to guys. If they don't say yes, another dude will. Are you with that person? Are they your boyfriend? Are they your girlfriend? Are they your wife? Are they your husband? I'm just asking. I'm just genuinely asking, because you are asking how to get over a situation when it wasn't even a situation. There's nothing to get over. You never were with this person. What you need to get over is yourself and your own insecurities for whatever reason you are holding on to this situation, trying to prove yourself. Please love me, please love me, please love me. Love yourself. Please love yourself. Exit the market and love yourself. Find a different supplier. Stop the nonsense of begging people to stay in your life who obviously are using you. Unfortunately, relationships do have a transactional nature to them. So if you are getting lowballed, you need to lower your expectations of this person and create distance. That doesn't mean you have to cut them off or be immature or have some big blow up. It just means you have to reevaluate what level they are at in your life. Insight comes with distance. Gain distance from a situation so you can see this person for who they are and what their actions show you. But he was going to, he's not. But I want her to, she's not. I said this in another video, but it really resonates with situationships. If someone has bad intentions for you, it's either they're going to leave because they didn't get the chance to use you, or they're going to leave because they already used you. Which do you want it to be? Do you want to have a high barrier to entry to protect yourself from low-level experiences? Or do you want to accept less and demand more? It is your choice. And I understand the difficulty navigating situationships. I've been in a situationship. It's horrible. It's horrible to feel like you're giving to someone and you are devaluing yourself in the process, but you have to take personal responsibility. That person didn't manipulate you into what you literally chose. You literally chose to stay with this person when they said, I don't want to be with you. The second that happens, I need your ick meter to be like, and leave. I saw this thing that was like by Christian Walker. It was like a TikTok. He was talking about how women need to start being like, my husband would never do that. Whenever a guy treats them badly, you need to affirm to yourself, my husband would never do that. Stop being delusional in the wrong ways and being like, but he's such a good person, and if we just had a marriage and you see the grandkids in your yard, like, ugh. When someone you're dating does something that just completely blindsides you, just be like, my husband would never do that. My wife would never do that. If you are a good quality man watching this, don't be afraid to affirm to yourself, like, my wife would not act like this. Because in that process, you are actively affirming to yourself that you are deserving of more. It's not that you are asking for too much, it's that they are not enough. It is nonsense to ask the supplier that does not have the resources to give you your demands. And the thing is, I don't think it's like a gendered thing. I know I'm talking from a female perspective, but genuinely for the guys watching this video, like, if you are a good quality man, stand on the fact that you are a good quality man and have barriers to entry for your own vulnerability. Don't just give everything to the first pretty girl who's wanting to show you attention. Same with women. Don't just give it all up to some guy who's saying, you're beautiful, ma, come over. over, it's 10 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Your ick meter needs to be so high that you are like, ugh. Like, this experience, when you get over your first situationship, it's like a weight lifts off your shoulders because you realize you were trying to fit yourself in a box that was so tiny. You were trying to say, this box is great, I love it, when you literally were like breaking the box and like literally were so uncomfortable. Please stop putting yourself in uncomfortable situations just because you want to be loved. Please. There's so many other suppliers out there. With that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching this. If you take one thing out of this, it's that you don't put yourself in situations where you are devalued and beg for people to value you. By leaving those situations where you are devalued, you are confirming to the universe that you are worthy of more. You are worthy of the situations where you are valued. And believe that, because you're so valuable and I love you so much. But yeah, don't ever put yourself in a situation like that again. Have higher barriers to entry. Okay, bye bestie.